Hi, I'm Lee Levinson-Perrine, and I'm the Community Engagement Manager at the DC Creative Affairs Office. Welcome to our Care for Creatives community conversation featuring Danielle Hickman and Russell Taylor as they talk about the importance of sleep and how it impacts our mental health. After this conversation, head over to creativeaffairsdc.com to learn more about our Care for Creatives program. Through a partnership with George Washington University, we are able to offer pay what you can mental health services to local creatives.
Hi, I'm Danielle Hickman, and I'd like to welcome you today to our Care for Creatives community conversation. And I'm really excited to have a great conversation with Mr. Russell Taylor about mental health and sleep. Hi, Russell.
Hey, how you doing, Danielle? I am Russell Taylor. I am a singer, songwriter, just released a new single called Cherry, and executive producer of a show called Soulversations. So I'm happy to be here with you, Dan.
Well, thank you, Russell. And as I said, my name is Danielle Hickman. And let me tell you a little about myself. I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Maryland. I've been practicing for about 8 years now, but I'm also in my second year of my Ph.D. at George Washington University. And I'm hoping to do a little more research on the impacts of mental health on underserved communities, as well as trauma, and how those two might intersect. So I'm really excited to do that work, but I'm most excited today to be here with you to talk about sleep.
Sleep, right. The ever escaping sleep. How did you become interested in working with sleep and connecting that to your patients, Danielle?
So about maybe about 5 years ago, I had this client, and she was super smart, really driven, but she had experienced these really traumatic events in her life. Like her father died suddenly, and then she had a long-term boyfriend die in a motorcycle accident. So she was experiencing a lot of grief. And so it was showing up as depression for her. And while we did a lot of work on her depressive symptoms, it really wasn't alleviating the way that it should have, based on what, science tells us. If you do these things, you should see this kind of result. So then I started digging a little deeper into her daily routine. And in her daily routine, I started to notice that her sleep was really dysregulated. And noticing that in her made me kind of want to ask other clients more about their kind of sleep routines and how their sleep might be contributing to their mental health. So it kind of made me think, well, let me explore this connection a little further. And especially since the first client, she was so young and she had this great trajectory in this career that she had crafted for herself. So it became like I was really hyper vigilant in helping her find a resolve to this thing that was causing her so much distress. So we started pinpointing her sleep rhythm. She got a little Fitbit so she could find out about how her sleep, was she really asleep? What kind of sleep she was in? Was it really REM sleep?
Right, because there's stages to sleep, right?
There are 5 stages to sleep. But the interesting thing is the first 4 stages kind of mimic each other. They look the same. 1 and 2 stages 1 and 2 are called light sleep. That's when we kind of first doze off and we're kind of just sleep. You can still hear if a dog is barking outside, if your neighbor pulls up, you can still hear those things in your sleep. Then we have stages 3 and 4, where you are a little deeper in your sleep, but then you move around about the 90-minute mark is where you're getting your real restorative sleep. And that's your REM sleep. And that's where all the action really takes place. That's where the really good deep sleep takes place, where your more creative thinking takes place, and where you're kind of the restorative properties of your brain happen during that sleep.
And that's called REM.
Yes.
Well, for me, I am an artist and a creator, and that would make sense while I've been hitting some duds lately because my sleep is terrible. It is terrible, Danielle. Terrible.
No, Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
That's
Tell me
okay.
about it. Tell me about it.
Okay, Doc. See, I need to come and see you. I sleep on average between 4 and 6 hours every night. And I'm a night owl, so I'm a late person, but I also have responsibilities. So I'm up early as well. And so I definitely need to improve on my sleep habits. And for all of the reasons that you stated, are there any more reasons? Like, so I need to get a restorative sleep to be more creative and so forth, but can lack of sleep affect other parts of your life?
Absolutely. So let's start with sleep is important because it not just resets your brain, but it also resets your body. And it's not just the quantity of sleep that we get, it's the quality of the sleep we get. And part of it is understanding like how our brain works.
Mm-hmm.
So and within sleep, we have like our prefrontal cortex.
Okay.
And our prefrontal cortex kind of sits right over top of our eyes. And it's kind of like the boss of the brain. So it controls like the high level, high functioning executive decision making that we have. But in sleep, it communicates to the amygdala that controls like our emotion centers. But if we're not getting appropriate amounts of sleep, it's kind of like a roadblock in between the two. So the communication is off. So when the communication is off, the amygdala is like hypersensitive and hyperactive. And that's why when we're sleep deprived, we feel so kind of like our emotional integrity is compromised. So
in other words, we act like jerks.
Yes. We are much more like irritable. We can hardly stand to hear people's voices. And then we don't respond in normal ways, in which something that would be like a normal response of maybe like a 2, you're giving it a 10 because you're just so sleep deprived and your amygdala is taking in all the action. And all of your emotions are coming out with no filter. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the CDC recommends that we get at least 7 hours of sleep.
7?
7. So Russell, you're in trouble.
I'm definitely in trouble.
That's not gonna work. You gotta get those 7 hours of sleep in so that you can wake up feeling refreshed and be able to have those creative juices flowing.
One of the things that I recognize about my sleep habits is I keep my electronics close by. And I know that that's rule number 1. You got to stop. Because my first instinct is when I can't sleep, I go to my phone and I start reading and it's an hour later. So can you make any recommendations about how we get better sleep?
So Russell, one of the things I want to tell you is put the electronics down. So in my practice, I tell my clients like an hour before you go to bed, just disconnect yourself from your electronics. But there are a host of other things. First of all, we have to talk about like your everyday sleep routines. What time are you going to bed and what time are you waking up? Being able to make those consistent will really be helpful in ensuring that when you do wake up, when you do go to sleep, you're getting the REM sleep, but when you wake up, you feel refreshed. And your body gets into like a rhythm with it. It knows when it's supposed to go to sleep and it knows when it's supposed to wake up. Also, you want to make sure like your sleep hygiene, you look at that process for yourself. What's going on in my bedroom? Do I have like, are you taking songs to bed and trying to make new lyrics? Mm-hmm. Are you working on other things in your bedroom? Are you trying to balance your checkbook? No, you make your bedroom for sleeping. Yeah. So, and then another thing is when you get in the bed, go to bed sleepy. When you lay down, if you don't fall asleep right away, get back up. Don't lay in your bed just laying there awake because your body is still not doing what it's supposed to do in the bed. So get back up, read a book. Do not watch television in the bed when you call yourself trying to go to bed because it'll overstimulate you. Yeah. And it's another thing, something else we probably don't think about. It's like when we eat last and what we eat last. So I hate to admit it, I'm a late night snacker. So I try to make sure that I have healthy snacks that's like sitting out on the counter so that I can grab like an apple or something. But sometimes I reach for those barbecue chips.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely a no-no. So you want to make sure that you no caffeine after a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So normally I would say like not after 3:00, no caffeine. But then you also want to know when the last time you're going to eat. You don't want to eat too close to the time that you're going to bed, because that'll keep your system working, and so you won't be able to fall off to sleep the way you're supposed to. Also, you want to be mindful of like the liquids that you're taking in, not just coffee, but other things have caffeine in it that we don't even pay any attention to. So just being mindful and more alert and aware to what you're putting into your body at a certain time.
So is it, from what I can gather, you have to develop a ritual of when you start to like taking things off your plate, out of your mind. So when it's time to rest, you only have one thing that you need to focus on, and that's relaxing and preparing to go to sleep.
I love that word ritual, because that's exactly right. Once you implement that, and it becomes a part of like your life and your lifestyle, you'll definitely get better sleep and the proper balance of sleep.
So I have another question. Do you have a professional opinion on people saying, well, I'm an early bird, well, I'm a night owl? Do you have any opinion on how to balance that?
It's fine, but you could be either one, but as long as you get those 7 hours. So if you know that you wake up at 6:00 in the morning, you definitely shouldn't be going to bed past 11:00.
Okay.
And if you're a night owl and you go to bed at 1, plan on getting up at 8.
I have another question, and this is a taboo question, but it's necessary for this discussion about sleep, though. What about, I have some friends that are in recovery, may have had some trouble with substance abuse in the past. What do you suggest, or do you have a recommendation about sleep aids like melatonin, Tylenol PM? I know Tylenol PM is like a go-to for a lot of people. Ambien, these types of aids. What advice can you give about these things?
So I first want to say that it's recommended that people who have a history with substance use disorder, that they should avoid all medicines to treat any kind of like sleeping disorder, like Xanax, Ambien, Valium, because of the addictive properties that they have within them, right? And in reference to melatonin, while it might be natural, just because it's natural, it might not be good for you in particular to take. So while it might work for somebody else, you always want to check in with your doctor to see if this would be a good thing for you to take to help with your dysregulated sleeping. But you don't necessarily need a sleep aid to go to sleep, because there are other natural ways in which we can go to sleep. One of them is about that ritual that we develop, but it's also like mindfulness meditation. And I want to tell anybody, no, meditation is not easy, because you can easily get distracted, but it's really necessary to bring yourself into that presence of mind and to calm yourself down and be in a spirit of gratitude, be where you are and appreciate where you are. And then there's also like grounding activities to do, like muscle relaxation and guided imagery. I really enjoy doing guided imagery with clients, because it allows them to like think of a place they would love to go to, envision that place, put themselves in that place, and how relaxing it would be, or someplace they've gone that they can remember feeling so relaxed and peaceful, and bringing that back to presence of mind for them is really helpful. So I always recommend those techniques for people who have a history of substance use.
So natural, I got a funny story about Ambien. I took Ambien one time and I woke up the next day with food all in the bed. I have no idea how it happened. So that wasn't the move. But so getting proper sleep, I would imagine as you age, it is just like going to the gym. You have to be intentional about setting up the space-time ritual for for you to get the proper sleep that you need. There are some apps and websites and things out there. I use an app called Buddhify, which is a meditation guided, like relaxing your body to sleep. I'm sure there are other apps out there like Calm and so forth, but you can download onto your phone. Have you ever heard of the Nap Ministry?
I have heard of the Nap Ministry, and I think that she's doing really great work.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely subscribe to being able to disconnect from all the things that are required of us every day. Because if we don't, we are like kind of on in this cycle in our lives where it's like wash, rinse, repeat.
Hustle and grind, hustle and grind.
It's definitely the hustle and grind. And some of it is culturally related, like being in America, we are in this capitalistic society.
Yeah.
So that perpetuates the hustle and grind mentality. But then also culturally for Black people, they feel like they have to be the greatest and the best. And if that requires us working and only sleeping 4 hours, then
Right.
That's what we do. But sometimes it means working, but still getting that 7 hours of sleep so that you can wake up and be the best that you are in whatever you're doing. Because if you're operating on limited sleep, you're not really giving it your best.
I think the hustle and grind, particularly for my industry, there is always work to be done. So if I stayed up for 24 hours straight, I would have work to fill that 24 hours. I think that that it's important to step back and reset. This hustle and grind idea, there should be a balance. Like you work and then you play, because if you're not refreshed enough to get quality work done, then both things suffer. So yeah, I think the hustle and grind is another conversation that we're gonna have to come back to. Yeah,
we definitely have to, because it's serious and it's in everybody's life, right? I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm in my doctoral program, but I'm also a clinician, but I also have to bracket those things, right?
Yeah.
Because I still have to give myself the time to get the proper rest that I need.
Yeah.
And being able to put those things in the proper perspective is really important. And it takes a lot of reflection and like kind of knowing what's important and when it's important, and always making sure that that sleep ritual becomes one of those important things in your life.
So prioritizing and being intentional about rest, and then creating a ritual that you can stick to. And I remember it takes 21 days to form a habit. So you got to give yourself grace over 21 plus days of committing to a ritual for better rest. It's work getting good sleep, I feel, Danielle. It's work.
It's work, but it's worth it.
Yeah, it is. I'll talk to you in 21 days when I get rid of these bags, right?
I'm gonna hold you to that. I really am, Russell.
Okay. Now, when we get to that part, before we get to the end of this, we got to wrap up. I want to know if there are any other resources in addition to the apps that you can suggest to the good people and to me, actually, about getting better sleep.
So one of the things that I think is, the sleepfoundation.org, there is a plethora of information on that website about sleep routines, things to try if you can't sleep. They have different kind of muscle relaxation exercises, grounding techniques that you can try. They have a lot of information on that website. I also have a couple podcasts that I enjoy.
Okay.
One is the Sleep Science, and one is called Sleep Culture. That is like one of my favorites because they talk about everything from melatonin to sexual health to morbidity,
right?
All surrounded around sleep. So anyone who wants to know more information should check any of those resources out.
Okay. Where can we find you, Danielle? Excuse me. Where can we find you?
So on social media, I am Counseling Lady all over the place.
Okay.
So just Counseling Lady, and you can look me up on my website, counselinglady.com.
Okay, cool. Well,
what about you, Russell?
Oh, me? I'm R Soul Star on all the social media spaces. That's where you can find me. So I appreciate spending this time with you. You made me realize just how much more effort I have to put into sleeping. And in 21 days, I'm going to reach out to you, counseling lady, let you know how I'm doing.
21 days. Thank you, Russell. I really appreciated the time that we spent together today talking about sleep and mental health.
Yes, me too.
Well, thank you all for watching this Care for Creatives community conversation. And to learn more about the Creative Affairs Office of Care for Creatives, visit creativeaffairsdc.com. Thank you again for joining us and have a great day.
Thank you, Danielle and Russell, for joining us for today's Care for Creatives community conversation. For everyone watching, head to creativeaffairsdc.com to stay up to date on all things Care for Creatives. In closing, here are a few resources and tips to help you get better sleep. Disconnect from your electronics an hour before you go to bed. Go to bed at the same time every night. Don't watch TV in bed. No caffeine after 3 p.m. Don't eat too close to bedtime. Practice mindfulness meditation. Explore apps like Buddhify and Calm. Check out the Sleep Science Podcast and the Sleep Culture Podcast. Find additional resources at sleepfoundation.org. Thanks for watching.